Hey everybody, Mr. Klassen here. Welcome back to our virtual online classroom. Even though we can't be together in our regular classroom, we can be together here. Today we're going to do another practice strategies video. This time we're talking about articulation. As always, the strategies that I discuss are things that have worked for me in the past, but they're not the be-all and end-all. They're not necessarily the only ways to practice, but hopefully they'll be helpful for you. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So we have a couple of special issues when it comes to articulation. The first one is, what does articulation even mean? That word can mean a lot of different things. When we hear about articulation, often we think of tonguing, and that's what often young students are taught. Articulation is how you tongue to get clarity at the beginning of the note, and that's not wrong, but I don't think that it's the whole picture either. My definition of articulation would be that it refers to the clarity and style that we want to achieve at any given time through our playing. This includes the start of the note, yes, but it also includes the middle and the end of the note, and how the notes interact with each other, and how the way that you're starting and ending and doing the middle of your note affects the other sections that you're playing with in an ensemble. But I would say that it goes back to clarity and style. The two main ways that we do this is with our air and our tongue. So yes, our tongue is involved, but our air stream actually is more important, I would say, and does more of the work than our tongue. Our air, like I said, does most of the work, and our tongue just kind of touches the air stream to provide clarity. So a helpful analogy is a garden hose. If you think of having a garden hose shooting water out with pressure, it's shooting out in kind of like an arc, and if you take your finger and just flip it through the water stream, it's not going to cut off the water entirely. It's just going to momentarily make this little blip in the water stream while the water keeps going. The water from the garden hose is like your air stream, always moving, and your tongue is like your finger flipping through the stream, so it's just, it's not, it's, and each of those tongue attacks would be like a separate note. The second issue that we have with articulation is articulation markings. Composers and sometimes arrangers often add markings to indicate what kind of articulation to use. And this is good in theory, but it can present some challenges too, because often there's some composers who won't use any markings, and there's some that will put an accent or a staccato on everything. And so you're not sure, like, okay, how does this line up? How come some use none and some use lots? And there's everything in between. I think it's important to mention that notation is just a way for the composer or the arranger to try and tell us as the performer what they would like us to do, what they want the end product to sound like. But it's our job as the performer or the director to interpret those markings. So just because there's a staccato there or an accent does not mean it should be played the same way in every piece. A staccato is going to sound very different in a slow piece than it is going to in a fast piece, and vice versa. So it's our job to be artistic interpreters of the music, including the articulation markings. So just to continue a little bit with the articulation markings, there's a lot of different ones that you might see. The most common ones are staccato, accent, marcato accent, and tenuto, but there are more than that. You'll see a little snippet coming onto the screen now with the different articulation markings that I just mentioned. It's important to note also that no two notes should be the same. Like I said before, we're artistic interpreters of the music, so the setting of the music helps us determine how to play each marking within each piece. Okay, so here's an excerpt that I'm going to use to demonstrate a few of these things today. This is from measures 51 to 56 of Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Original music is by John Williams, and this arrangement is by Robert Longfield and published by Hal Leonard. So I should mention that I'm going to be looking at the clarinet 1 part. On that excerpt you can see two different parts. I'm going to be playing the top one, the clarinet 1 part. So strategy number 1 is to blow air patterns. So what you want to do is you want to set your embouchure, that's the formation of your mouth in order to play your instrument well. You want to set that and hold it how you would to play your instrument, and then blow air and use your tongue to create the articulations that you want to use, but just do it without actually playing on the instrument. I'm going to combine this with air banding, so I'm going to get the fingerings at the right times while I'm doing it, because I think it just adds to the exercise if you do the air pattern and also air band. It is important to use the air and tongue that you're actually going to use when you're going to perform. It doesn't help if you use different air and tongue attacks than you're actually going to play when you play the instrument. So you're going to want to use generally a D or a T tongue attack, because that's what will transfer well to your instrument. D for a lighter articulation, maybe a smoother style, and T for when you want to use accents or shorter articulations. For slurs, you want to keep the air moving, but don't actually use your tongue, because that's exactly what you're going to do when you actually perform it. You're going to tongue the first note of the slur, but not tongue anything underneath the slur. So I'll demonstrate this now with this excerpt. 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3. Okay, strategy number 2 is to say it out loud, or verbalize it, as I like to say. We've already covered similar things in other videos, but it's important to say it, and now that we're working specifically on articulation, we'll be focusing on that a little more intently. For articulation, focus on saying the syllable that you'd like for each specific articulation marking. I'm showing you a couple on the screen now for the common articulation markings. So for staccato, I generally use dit. I don't say the T, I just say dit. For accents, I'll use da. For marcato accents, dot. But again, I don't say the T, I just say dot. And for tenutos, you probably want to use something like do. You can also use T for all of these. It just depends on the character of the music that you're playing. I generally find that D works well for me for most things. Here, this excerpt is pretty bombastic, but I find D still works. I can emphasize the D, but you can use a T tongue attack if you'd like as well. So I'm going to demonstrate this now with this passage. I would encourage you not to worry too much if you can't get the syllables all exactly correct. It's more important that you keep things in time and just try and differentiate the different markings. Not that you're forcing yourself to say a dit, dot, do, all in the right spots. It's more important that you're just trying to differentiate them as much as you can. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Da 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 dit da 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 dit da 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 dit da 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 dit dit da da. So once you've worked on those strategies of blowing air patterns and then saying the syllables, it's time to apply those strategies to playing the actual instrument. Thank you very much for watching, folks. I hope that this was informative. As always, please feel free to contact me via email or phone, however works for you, if there are any questions. Also, I'd be happy to hear about any ideas you have for future videos. If there's something you're wondering about and you think that video would be helpful, let me know and I would be happy to look into that. Thank you very much and have a great day.